Hi guys, this is an AI and now on with the story. Chapter 47 Kakashi's Pav. I was by the lake with Anko, just looking at her waiting for a response. I was sweating as random thoughts bounced around my mind and it was getting to me. I watched as tears rolled down her face for the first time since she got over her whole curse mark. One had no idea what to make of it as my mind was going a million kilometers a minute. My heart was pounding so hard I was unable to hear anything around us and the entirety of my attention was on her. She started but stopped herself from going further. It appeared that she couldn't say anything at the moment. Feeling my heart slowly feeling uneasy about this, I realized that this was probably too random as I was about to stand up and walk away. Disheartened, she lunged at me. I barely had enough time to move the box with the way so as to not lose it as she pulled both my masks down and planted her lips on mine. She then pulled away, tears still streaming down her face. "Hi Kakashi Hatake, I will marry you." Suddenly there was some cheering from the treeline. We both turned, now embarrassed to see Tenzo, Kurenai, Sakura and a few others while the rest watched over Naruto and Gurren. I presume I then noticed Sakura blushing and felt a cold breeze on my face. "Shit, my mask," I internally screamed. "Sorry Sakura, he's all mine." Anko yelled, noticing this as well. We got up off the ground and I placed the ring on Anko's finger before she ran off with the other females showing it off. Tenzo came up and congratulated me while I watched Kiba and Shino give me awkward nods. After a while everyone calmed down and Naruto began to stir awake. I watched as my adopted son opened his eyes as they landed on Anko and I. "Hey Tu-san. What happened?" he asked as I smiled slightly and Anko rushed him and wrapped his arms around him. "I am finally gonna be your Ka-san," she screamed, causing Naruto's eyes to shoot wide open. What?" he said, surprised, looking at me. "She's right Naruto, she will become your Ka-san." "Well, adoptive, but still," I tried to say, not really trying to upset Kushina, "for when I get into the afterlife, cause Kami knows Minato-sensei and her are waiting for their son. It's alright if you don't want to call me Ka-san though, as we never really had such a relationship as you and Kakashi-kun," Anko said with a saddened smile. "No, that would be extremely rude of me Ka-san," Naruto said for the first time since he teased the idea when we had started dating all those years ago. Anko's tears of joy flourished once again at the affection she had just received. Anko then pulled me over into a massive group hug with Naruto and herself. Naruto began to laugh and Anko and I just looked at him. "What is it, Naruto?" I asked. "Well, it's just that we are quite the family if you think about what the villagers call us all." It then struck me as well, causing me to chuckle as well. "Yeah, the Kyuubi brat," Naruto said. "The hubby's whore," Anko said. I hesitated a moment before buckling, seeing the two's stares. "And cold-blooded Kakashi," I said with a sad smile. Not to break the mood, I heard and turned to see Hinata standing there before she could say anything else. However, Anko pulled her into the pile as well. "Oh, I didn't forget about my future daughter-in-law," Anko said, causing Naruto and Hinata to blush wildly but smiled at each other. Anko-san," Hinata stammered out as the rest of the nin laughed. As I was saying, "What are we going to do about the Sanbi?" Hinata said. The moments of joy ended with that sentence as I do not think anyone had an idea what to do at this point. Naruto stood up, however, and walked over to the lake as everyone followed and flared the Kyuubi's chakra. Suddenly the large beast emerged from the depths of the lake, making its presence known once more. "Naruto," the beast said, surprising a few people. "Well, I would say that you are out of the woods for now," Naruto said before the beast's eye landed on me and went wide for a second. "Don't tell me he remembers me." I thought. I decided that I couldn't just let that question sit in the back of my mind indefinitely. Excuse me, I called out me, the Sanbi asked and I nodded. Do you remember me? I asked, shocking even more people. I have to say that you do look familiar, but I can't put my finger on it, he said as I nodded. It seemed as if he was in thought before closing his eye and nodding. I think I recall where I know you. It was at this spot you slew my container. The beast said as the comment struck me hard. Hey, apologize Isobu. Naruto yelled. Isobu, I heard. Kiba asked, but Naruto brushed it off. It's not like I meant anything by it. My container made the choice to jump in front of him while he was using that Raiden jutsu to take out his foe, the Sanbi. Commented further. There was a moment of silence that filled the air before Naruto spoke again. So, where do you want to be sealed, Isobu? Naruto asked, and again the beast was lost in thought. I heard a small argument go on between Tenzo and Naruto, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. If I may, I would like to be sealed in this lake. It is cozy, you know, the armored turtle said. With that, the process of sealing the Sanbi commenced and was done by the end of the day. Elsewhere, it was cold and dark. The only thing that lit the room was a few candles. The room was simple, only holding a bed and a nightstand. The only reason someone would know someone was in there was because of the excessive coughing of the single resident. I insist that you take your medicine, and Grunt spoke up. The man in the bed smacked the tray out of the man's hands as he cowered back in fear. To hell with you. Why has no one been able to extract Kabuto from that damn stain on the map called a hidden village? The sickly man stated. Orochimaru-sama, it isn't that simple to get into Konoha-esp. Suddenly snakes wrapped around the man's throat, suffocating him. Do not tell me what is and is not an easy task. I do not care, just do it, Orochimaru yelled, throwing the grunt out. A new figure walked into the room. My, what a state you are in, Orochimaru. The figure stated. Don't patronize me with your words, Orochimaru stated. Why shouldn't I? You have nothing more to teach me and you are as sick as a dog, so what is keeping me here rather than going and enacting my revenge for my clan? The man said, walking into the light. Oh, give me a break, clan. This clan that who cares? Your clan is on the brink of extinction, Orochimaru said, causing the Uchiha to glare at the man he called sensei. For years, I think it is time to enact my plan, the snake mumbled, but Sasuke understood what he meant. Orochimaru lunged for Sasuke only to be sliced in half at his midsection. Orochimaru was quick to throw up, not his usual copy but a monstrosity of a white-scaled snake with what resembled his face. So this is what you really look like under all that makeup, Sasuke said. SS's stop it with the SSS shitty comeback. SSSS, Orochimaru hissed. Sasuke was surprised when he was no longer in the hideout of Orochimaru but some plane of existence that was unfamiliar to him. The floor was made of what he presumed was flesh when it began to try and swallow him. The hell is this stuff? Sasuke thought, and once Orochimaru appeared it meant trouble. Sasuke discreetly cast a genjutsu on the hubby Sennin when he began to burn the entirety of the dimension with Kaiten Jutsu fairly easily, and once the deed was done he dropped it, revealing that Orochimaru had already lost. Sasuke watched as the world turned back into the bedroom in the cave, and the once almighty Orochimaru withered away. Walking through the halls, Sasuke entered a room full of tanks meant for test subjects for Orochimaru's experiments in. At the back of the room was a large tank full of water. It's about time you got me out of her, the water spoke as a face revealed itself. Be quiet, Suigetsu, we have more people to get on the way, Sasuke said, opening the tank and letting the water take a humanoid form with white hair, shark-like teeth, a purple shirt and gray pants matching the Otogakure color scheme. Oh, please don't tell me you mean her, Suigetsu pleaded. We have no choice, we need her, Sasuke said as his plan was formulating in his head for eradicating his mortal enemy. I am coming for you. Itachi, Chapter 48. Sasuke's POV. We were heading southeast towards one of Orochimaru's old bases to fetch a vital asset that will help take Itachi down. A young kunoichi named Karen who I managed to save in the Chunin exams a few years ago. We approached the base by boat and entered, noticing quickly that there was no one around. It seemed as though the place was abandoned, completely void of any life suigetsu. And I searched around, finding not a single trace of human life. That is till we hear footsteps heading our way, and they were making quick progress. The owner of the footsteps was on top of us in a second, and before I could even move, Sasuke-kun tilde. The woman yelled, "Karen, please get off of me," I said in a monotone manner. "Oh, you're no fun, Sasuke-kun tilde," she said, batting her eyes. Of course I leave Konoha and my fangirls, but of course my actions in the Forest of Death are really coming back to haunt me, aren't they? I am gonna kill Naruto when I find him. This plan of his was dumb and I had completed it. All I had to do now was kill Itachi and turn myself in, not like I have done anything to Konoha itself. Elsewhere, running through the forest, we gained the knowledge of movements of the Akatsuki in the area, and our team was sent to investigate. Team Kurenai had to retreat, as well as Anko, as they were needed elsewhere. This left to Sanhanada, Haim Tenzo Ni and myself. After a day or so we managed to make it to a town where the members had been spotted. We began to look around when I felt a few chakra signatures that felt vaguely familiar, and one that was definitely Sasuke. Sateme is here as well, I thought. You got something, Naruto? Tusan asked. Yeah, 3. The air vaguely familiar, and one that is definitely Sasuke Teme, I said, still looking towards Sasuke. And one of the vague signatures I have felt. The other two or that direction are the Akatsuki members. I think I know one, but I do not know for sure, I said. Who is it? Tenzo Ni asked. I believe that it is Deidara, but I am not sure, I said. His partner feels familiar, but I do not think I can put a name to him. You said there were 3 familiar chakra signatures, didn't you? Hinata asked, and I nodded, yes. But I can't put my finger on it, I said, looking at her lavender eyes. I see. We will prioritize Sasuke for now. Akatsuki will be a problem if they intervene, though, Tusan said before formulating a plan. Moving fast, we tried to catch up to Sasuke, but it was as if they were reading our movements and avoiding us. Sasuke's POV. Damn it, what is Naruto doing here? I know I said I would kill him next time I saw him, but that was figurative, I thought, as Karen informed me to move left into the alleyway. We hid as I watched Kakashi pass us as we suppressed our chakra. Boo! I heard behind me, and drew a kunai and slashed wildly, activating my dojutsu. Damn you, I said quietly, seeing Naruto alone. I deactivated my eyes to not waste chakra for now. How did you sneak up on us? Karen asked. It's quite simple actually. I tricked you with Kage Bunshin. You would make a turn and I would have a Bunshin pass by, hanged into someone else besides me. Are you telling me that not even you saw that? Naruto said, pointing at me accusingly. I just thought your tracking skills had vanished over the years, I said, smirking and shrugging my shoulders. I didn't know what it was, but Naruto kept occasionally glancing over to Karen with a questioning look. Do you know her? I said to him, pointing towards my new teammate. I don't know why, but I have a nagging feeling that I do, he said, looking at her more. You know it's not nice to stare, she said in a pissed-off tone. Suddenly his eyes widened as if he was just told something. Are you by chance an Uzumaki? Naruto asked, and I finally understood what was going on. How did you know? Karen said before Naruto wrapped his arms around her, jumping up and down like a lunatic. Karen was able to get one hand free and smash it on His head, much like Sakura had done in the academy all those years ago, it was hard to hold in a smile. Watching the two interact, "Will you knock it off and tell me what the hell is going on?" Karen yelled, shoving Naruto off. He smiled at her before stretching out his hand. "Naruto Uzumaki, happy to meet ya," Naruto said with his typical cheese-wide smile. "Uzumaki," she said as her eyes widened. Before she had a doubtful look. "Wait," she said, "all Uzumaki have red hair, so why is yours blonde?" she asked as Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Well, my Ka-san was an Uzumaki whereas my Tu-san was not, but I guess his genes were stronger in the looks department," he said. "Prove it," she said. "How the hell is he gonna do that?" I thought, looking at the equally confused Naruto. "Well, I am a censor and that was common amongst the Uzumaki. I didn't really get anything else from my Ka-san's side but my extremely large and dense chakra reserves. I didn't even get those cool chakra chains that I was told she could do," he said. "I guess that I am mediocre at best in Fuinjutsu. I didn't get any of the healing abilities that the Uzumaki had." "Oh, I do heal extremely fast," he said, drawing a kunai and slicing his hand, and within seconds it healed. I looked at Karen, who seemed skeptical, then her eyes went wide. "Why? Your reserves are incredible," she said. "Sasuke-kun, his reserves are greater than anything I had ever seen before," she exclaimed. "I am well aware of that, Karen," I said, looking at my former teammate. "Well, there has to be a reason why you are here, so get on with it," I said. "Right, sorry, I need to tell you something privately," he said as he subtly activated his dojutsu and off again. "I got it," I said, activating my own clan's dojutsu. Entering the mindscape of Naruto was odd at times. We had done it once before when we ran into each other a little while back. "All right, what is it?" I said. Naruto then began to explain to me about things within Konoha that had been going down, as well as a fake Madara pulling the strings behind the Akatsuki. "Is that it?" I questioned, not really understanding why we needed this conversation. "No," he said in a rather unnerving tone. "Well," I said, "patience is already running out. It's about Itachi," he said, now having my full attention. "What about him?" I yelled, demanding to know more. "Easy," he replied, and I could see him prepare to bring down some sort of hammer on me, before you arrived at the hotel. All those years ago when Itachi and his partner Kisame were after me, he put me in that Tsukiyomo thing that I can't remember the name of, and he did the same to me, if you remember," I countered, beginning thinking this was a waste of time. "Yes, he did, but I faked being passed out," he said. "Why?" "I did so because he told me that he was not against Konoha and informed me about every member of the Akatsuki," Naruto said, stunning me. "Why would my brother even say something like that? He killed our clansmen and woman, hell, even the children, leaving only me," I said as rage began to rise within me. "Look, I don't know all the details, but he said that Danzo Shimura had played a part in the Uchiha massacre. I don't know how or why, that is all I know," Naruto said. "So what you were telling me is that Konoha is at fault for my clan's death?" I asked, stepping forward. "No, Danzo has never seen eye to eye with Gigi or even Ba-chan. All he wants is to claim Konoha as his so he can rule the world with an iron fist," Naruto said. "So Danzo just wants to be greedy for his own sake and not Konoha?" I said. "Yes, he says he does everything for Konoha, but he is the reason that Imegakure is in turmoil and is making backdoor deals with our enemies. The worst part is there is not enough evidence to incriminate him. The only reason he didn't come after you when you were younger because Itachi had threatened him." "Why would Itachi do that?" I pushed for more answers to even more questions. "Sasuke Itachi had been watching over us for years. Even after the massacre he would somehow sneak back into Konoha and keep an eye on us. Hell, I am pretty sure I saw him in his Anbu gear one time after the massacre in Konoha, but I never made sure," Naruto said. "Why are you telling me this now? And not sooner?" I asked. "It's because he asked me to and I trusted him. I ran and pinned him against the wall with my forearm at his throat." "What do you mean you trust him?" I snarled. "Just that I trusted him and he has only brought in valuable info that has saved many lives. Hell, he even helped Pervy Sage with his info with the Akatsuki all those years ago. None of this makes any sense," I said, clutching my head trying to wrap it around all the information Naruto told me. "Sasuke," Naruto said, drawing me out of my thoughts. "I never said Itachi was a good person. I cannot tell what happened that night, nor do I believe I will get to learn the full truth of the events that transpired that night. All I can say is that Danzo's grimy hands had something to do with it and he is the one who is responsible for your clan's demise," he said as I just stood there. "Danzo was the one who gave the sentence while Itachi was just the executioner. That is what I believe happened. I do not know what happened in order for Danzo to make such an order for Itachi, but it had to be something severe," Naruto said. "I understand, although I feel this changes nothing and just adds another target to my list," I said rather coolly. "What list? You probably only have the two of them on there," Naruto said. "Damn it, Dobi, why do you go and ruin the moment?" I yelled. He just laughed before he forced me out of his mind. I never imagined that Naruto would ever be able to do that. Naruto then said goodbye to Karen and I completely ignored Suigetsu before I realized something. "Naruto, what are you at now?" I asked, flaring my dojutsu. 11, he said before disappearing. 11, I thought. Unbelievable, I thought, looking at the spot he once stood. "Sasuke, what was that about?" Suigetsu said. "Nothing. I have to find Itachi now more than ever." Chapter 49 Naruto's POV. Running to the rendezvous point, I met up with Hinata and Tenzoni, then we waited for Tusan to return. "Yo, a familiar voice said behind me. "Hey Tusan, find anything?" I asked. "No, I couldn't find either of the two groups. How about you all?" he asked in return. I was also unable to locate the Akatsuki members or Sasuke-san. Hinata said. "I was unsuccessful as well." Kakashi-senpai, Tenzoni said. All attention was now on means they awaited my reply. "Well, I didn't find them either. Every time I got close they quickly moved away as if they had speed and a sensor in their midst," I said with a shrug. "Alright, I guess we should move eastward to try and follow them," Tusan said. After what seemed like a half hour trying to catch up, I felt something deep within me telling me to turn back. "Wait," I said, halting our progress. Then I saw it, a giant white thing towering over the landscape. "Hinata, get back to San Tenzoni, help me out here," I said, making a few hand signs where they copied. "Doton Doryuheki," we yelled as we had a wall surrounding us. Then, for extra measure, I made more hand signs. "Mokaton Mokajoheki, wood release, wood locking wall," I yelled as a wooden dome completely covered the group. We waited in silence, anticipating what would become of the white creature that appeared from thin air. Suddenly the ground started to shake violently within the dome. I was the only one who still stood as I was still pumping my chakra into the ground to keep my jutsu up. After about 30 seconds the sound waves hit us and it was clear that we would be exiting this dome to an entirely new landscape. After hearing the deafening sound of most likely Deidara's jutsu, once the ground stopped quaking, my mind was aching, but we were making it. Bonus points if you get the reference. I dropped the jutsu and grabbed my head as this was the first time using the Mokajoheki in a life or death situation. "Naruto-kun, are you alright?" Hinata panicked. "Yeah, I am alright," I said, giving her a cheeky smile. I looked around and heard Tenao ni whistle before talking. "Well, Whatever that was, I am extremely grateful for your quick thinking, Naruto. I think that wall maybe lasted a second or two tops. If it wasn't for your mokujoheki, I think we would have been toast. Oh. It was nothing, I mean I did learn it from you, I shot back. Hey, I was giving you a real compliment. You brat, he yelled, pointing at me. Alright, I get it, T. Yamato-sensei, I said with another cheeky grin. Will you stop calling me that, he yelled back, leaving the three of us to laugh. Timeskip. Damn, we lost track of them, I said, even though they were really just outside of Hinataheim's range with her Byakugan. Let's set up camp here for the night as it's getting dark. Naruto, I want you to collect firewood. Hinata, I would like for you to set up traps around the area just to be safe. Tenzo, you know what to do, Too-san said, getting a nod from us all. Wait, and what will you be doing? I asked. He gave me an eye smile, and I could already tell his answer was gonna piss me off. The worst part is he never said anything, he just drew his book from his pocket with a perverted laugh accompanying it. Damn it, of course he's doing nothing, I mumbled as I walked away. I went to a nearby clearing and saw many broken down trees and dry grass, leaves for tinder, so I made some cage. Bunshin began hauling wood and brush back for a fire while I sat up in a tree watching. Everything was fine until I felt someone tap on my shoulder. When I turned around, I didn't see anyone. It was odd, because it felt like a hand, and it was gentle and familiar, like I have felt this feeling 100 times before, but I couldn't pinpoint why it was familiar. When it happened, the sun seemed to shine more brightly down on me than anywhere else in my vicinity. It felt gentle, but felt as though someone was proud of everything I had become so far and where I will go into the future. I don't know why, but I began shedding a few tears subconsciously, quickly whipping them away. I shrugged it off the best I could for the moment and averted my gaze back towards my Bunshin, only to stare into the red eyes with a tri-pronged shuriken in it. Tsukuyomi was all I heard before I was once again transported into Itachi Uchiha's world. Good to see you, I asked, not really knowing why he showed up this time. He was about to speak when he doubled over, coughing up blood. Well, that's new, I said jokingly. I am sorry, Naruto, but this will be our last meeting, he said. What? This will be our last meeting? Either my Ototo will end me and unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan, or this cursed disease that has plagued me will put an end to me itself, he said. Wait, is there no other way to stop this? I asked him, taking a step forward. Look, I would love to stay and chat, but I can't hold this much longer, and my eyesight is mostly gone at this point, he said, waving his hand in front of his face and shrugging. Well, I presume you have something to tell me then? I asked, to which he nodded. Sasuke is a fractured soul, and he will stop at nothing to achieve the power to kill me. You are the only one I think that can save him from a life empty of all emotion but hatred. I also wanted to inform you about why the Akatsuki have never tried to infiltrate Konoha, he said, pausing for a second. The reason that an attack was never ordered was that I had asked them to do nothing until my brother was gone or dead. He has still yet to be labeled a Nukenin by any of the elemental nations, so he is still technically a member of Konoha, he said, allowing me to interpret the info I have just received. With him killing Orochimaru, and while I am on the brink of death, I feel that pain may reach out to attack Konoha in the near future once I am gone. I stood there taking everything in, and what if I can't bring Sasuke back? I asked, when suddenly a crow shot out of Itachi's chest and dove down my throat. I gagged and coughed as I dropped to my hands and knees. What was that for? I said between breaths. That is my backup plan, he said, mind filling me in. No, I don't think I will, he said, causing me to be deadpan. Okay. Well, what about pain? What can I expect? I asked. I already told you everything I knew about him, and I regret to inform you nothing new has come up, he said. I interpreted what he had said, trying to make a strategy to take pains care if and when he attacks. If I may, he said, gaining my attention once again, when I arrived here I saw you watching over your bunchen gathering firewood and you abruptly turned around the other way and shed a few tears. May I ask what caused it? Itachi asked as if I was his ototo. To be honest, I have no clue why I did. It was as if a hand had been placed on my shoulder for a brief second before fading away. Itachi's eyes slightly widened for a second before shifting back to his typical unenthusiastic glare. I see, was all he replied with before dropping the genjutsu. Farewell Naruto, please save my brother and I wish happiness for you and the Hyuga in the future. With that I blushed wildly. Thank you, Ni-chan. He smiled at me before walking up to me and patted my head. Hey, I'm not that young, I yelled, knowing what he was doing. Suddenly I heard the snapping of a stick. I turned to see what it was, and sadly Itachi was gone before I could even say a proper goodbye. Naruto-kun, I heard as I watched Hinata come out from behind a tree. I was at a loss for words as I had no idea how to dig myself out of this mess. Naruto-kun, why were you with Itachi Uchiha? She asked. Well, you know how I had so much info on the Akatsuki, I said as her eyes widened. Oh, so you got that info from him, she stated, slamming her fist down on an open palm. That convinced her, I thought. Deadpanning, yeah, I replied as we began our walk back to camp for the night. We got back and sat by the fire for a bit chatting, ate dinner and then called it a night. I walked into a room for Hinata and me, and as we laid down I couldn't help but think about what happened right before Itachi showed up. What was that feeling? Kurama's pav. I'm sorry Kit, but it is not my palace to tell you what is going on. I just hope that you can take this and learn how to forgive and forget in order to attain full control of my power. I thought, Kurama, do you have any idea what that was? Naruto asked. Damn, of course he asks me. No, I am unsure what that was. In all my years I have never seen or heard of an experience like this one. I lied. The last time I had seen or felt something like this was when Hashirama Senju had been killed and his soul had hugged Mito Uzumaki while I was sealed into her. Naruto, I wish you the best. Please just don't lose yourself. Chapter 50. Naruto's pav. The thought of that thing happening with my shoulder had perplexed me to no extent. I know that I felt something and it was so familiar, yet I couldn't deduce how it was so memorable. I once again tried to ignore the thought as I felt it beginning the fight between two brothers, Itachi's pav moments before. I hope Naruto understands what he needs to do, I thought, staring up in the sky waiting for my younger brother to arrive to finally avenge the clan from my personal doings. I sat there for a moment as she flashed in my mind for the millionth time since that night. Izumi, I will be with you soon. I am sorry for everything that I had done to not just you but the clan. I am asking now for your forgiveness as I don't think I will have the heart to do so when we reunite. I thought as a single tear ran down my face. Quickly whipping it away, I felt as if a hand was placed on my right cheek and felt something on my lips. Strange, what could that have? I began to think, but instantly remembered Naruto describing such an instance just a couple of days ago. A small blush crept onto my face, thankfully hidden from the collar of my cloak. Walking back inside the old Uchiha hideout, I sat down on the throne that sat at the back of the room. Finally, after about 5 minutes, Sasuke entered the ambiguous room, but he lacked the hatred in his eyes that I expected. He almost had a look of sympathy. I see you lack the hatred that I had forged into your upbringing, I said with an indifferent face. Enough with that, Itachi. I know what happened. My ototo spoke, confusing me. How did he find out? I thought as he continued. I know that Danzo ordered you to kill them, so why? Did you leave me? He asked. I froze. I never expected this to happen, not in a million years. I began but was still at a loss for words. Why did you leave me alive while you killed everyone else? I stayed silent, trying to figure out how I wanted to take this. How did you come to this realization? I asked him after recuperating. I learned it from someone you told, he said as I tried to recall who I had mentioned the massacre to. Then the blonde-haired Jinchuriki popped into my head once again. Damn it, that loud mouth. I thought, so Naruto told you, I replied. Yes, he did. Now answer my question, Sasuke said. No, demanded. You had no idea about the coup d'état that our father and family had been planning. You were the only one that had no clue about it. Also, I couldn't bring myself to end the life of my precious Ototo. I said, looking down in shame. Why did you have to kill them all? Was there no other way? Sasuke asked as my heart sank into my chest. Danzo is a cruel man, I said, and Sasuke was about to speak when I stopped him. Danzo had ordered me to end the Uchiha, every last one of us. I knew that he was a terrible person, as he had stolen Shisui's eye from him after giving him a sedative nullifying his senses to a degree. I stopped letting him gather the information. I did not kill Shisui. That was a lie I made in order to make the massacre look more like my fault in your eyes, for if there was another way I would have tried, but the coup was going to happen the following night, and if I did act, nothing would have come of it but more unnecessary bloodshed. I informed, letting him again interpret this newfound knowledge himself. Why did you show me how you killed Sama and Ka-san over and over again? Sasuke said as a tear began to form in his one eye. I did that so you would awaken the sharingan, and you had. However, it seems that was all for nothing, as you could no longer access our clan's dojutsu until your mission in Nami no Kuni. I said, shocking him. How did you know that? I knew because I had asked Naruto about you in the past. He cares about you as if you were Burazazu. I said. Of course he does, Sasuke said with a rather annoyed look on his face. So what do you plan to do now, Ototo? I asked, looking into his eyes. I watched as his eyes shifted from the usual onyx to the sharingan as he laid his hand atop the hilt of his chikuto. I understood what this implied and readied myself for a fight. Then the unexpected happened. Sasuke tightened his grip on his weapon and clenched, his eyes closed as if he was having an internal battle. He opened his eyes again and his grip loosened as his hand dropped to his side, the glowing red eyes of the sharingan no longer present, revealing the onyx color once again. Damn it, he yelled, slamming his fist into the ground, causing it to crack into a shape similar to a spider's web. All this time I have been pushing everyone away, trying to break every bond I had ever had or almost formed in order to foster my hate for you. Then this happens, Sasuke said, motioning to our conversation. I presume, did I waste away my entire life under a false interpretation that you were a terrible person and Konoha was a joyous and loving place with no dark secrets to hide? Sasuke said, clutching his right hand over his heart and dropping to his knees. Had I pushed away from the one I love because of some false reality that was created for me to protect me? Sasuke said as tears now began to stream down his face. Did you ever love anyone in our clan? Sasuke asked me as I froze for a split second. However, I could tell Sasuke noticed. I let out a sigh and stood up, walking over to my Ototo. Indeed I did, Sasuke, I said as my eyes shifted into the sharingan and cast a genjutsu over my brother as I showed him what happened when Izumi was killed by the hands of the fake Madara. Flashback. I had just cleared the police station of all of my clansmen on the station. I was walking from house to house slaughtering everyone that was within the Uchiha compound. I walked around the corner to see Madara about to strike Izumi down, and my eyes widened as they shafted into The Mangekyo state as she looked into my eyes before speaking. Itachi. Help me, she screamed as I whispered, Tsukuyomi, wa. Where am I? The love of my life said, wait am I? No, I said in. She turned to look at me. Below her stood the man that was about to kill her, but in reality she was going to die tonight. I swallowed the nagging feeling to stop this madness, but it was too late. I had already started. I then went on to live a full life with Izumi within my Tsukuyomi, and on her passing, we were transported back to the start where I had saved her. Itachi, what about our boys? What happened to them? Izumi said, looking at me in distress as I began to shed a few tears. I did not want our time to end, but I needed to drop the jutsu to have enough strength to kill the rest of my clan as well as my two sama who also had the Mangekyo sharingan. Izumi, I am sorry, I said as she ran to me and wrapped her arms around me. Itachi, it's okay, we can move on together, she said, placing her hand on my cheek and began to tilt her head up for a kiss. Izumi, I said, grabbing her hand and taking it off my cheek as tears streamed down my face. None of that life we shared is real, I said, shocking her. What do you mean? She asked, looking into my eyes. I then told her about Shisui and my abilities that I knew of with the Mangekyo. Izumi, I love you. That is the one thing that I wish I had told you in the real world before this, I said, referring to the massacre that was currently taking place. She was at a loss for words hearing this. I don't deserve you, Izumi. Hell, I am just standing here as you are about to die for Kami's sake, I said, dropping to my knees, no longer looking at the woman I love. Itachi, she said, placing her hand on my cheek again, tilting my head up. I don't care that the life we shared in this genjutsu was fake. I am just glad that you cared about me enough to take me as your wife, genjutsu or not, she said. The next thing I know, she placed her lips on mine and the genjutsu broke as I watched as the chains that held my wife in every way except officially were cut down by Madara. I then see him look at me with a confused look, seeing my eyes. So you used that, did you? I guess that you really cared about her. My condolences, he said before vanishing in a spiral of some kind. I walked over to my Izumi as she was slowly dying. I picked her up in my arms, tears still falling down my face. Kai, she said slowly between breaths. Izumi, I love you, I said as I kissed her on the forehead, wiping away the strands of hair on her face. Love, Kuen. And with that her body slumped lifeless. Please wait for me, I said, as I planted my forehead on hers as my tears dropped onto her face, knowing I had to finish my mission. I stood up, but when I did, I felt a hand plant on my cheek as I felt lips plant on my face. But no one was around. Izumi, flashback end. Now you see, Sasuke, what happened that night with Izumi Uchiha, the woman I love and will always love, I said, embracing him. Suddenly he started screaming in pain, grabbing his shoulder as black markings came across his face before going further and turning my brother into one of Orochimaru's monsters. I watched as the cure mark receded back into itself before bulging out, revealing Orochimaru in the flesh. Of course he had some backup plan. I thought, dodging the sword of Kusanagi. Suddenly a large plume of smoke filled the area as massive white snakes emerged from nowhere, striking at me. They were about to hit me when a red rib cage engulfed me before gaining muscle and armor, revealing the Yata mirror in its left hand and the sword of Totsuka in its right. Where did you find that? Orochimaru hissed. I have been searching for that for years, and here you are with the sword that can seal all, the Hubiteme said with a flick of the wrist. I drew upon the sword and was able to seal away Orochimaru for all of the time. I dropped the Susanoo and looked at my brother, who was standing and leaning on a large piece of the rubble and panting. Sasuke, I yelled, running over, but something wasn't right within me. I felt a Sharp pain in my heart causing my breathing to hitch. I collapsed shortly after but tried to push through. Standing back up and wobbling over, my vision started to blur further. I made it to my brother. Knowing full well that I would die here, I tapped his forehead and left him with a few words, Sasuke. I am going to see Izumi. I am sad to say that this is the last time, Ototo. I then began to fall with a content smile. I crashed into the ground and I looked up into the sky of the world that had only brought me pain and suffering over the last few years, but I felt at peace. I watched the best I could with my eyesight as crows along with doves flew overhead. The amazing thing was they weren't fighting each other but fluttering in the wind in perfect harmony. Izumi, I'm coming, I whispered as my vision faded into darkness. Next thing I know, I am opening my eyes only to see a 21-year-old Izumi standing before me. I began to step forward slowly, step after step. She mirrored, moving towards me as well, finally standing within arm's reach of each other. I reached my right hand out and placed it on her cheek as she did the same to me. I can feel you, I said, holding her in my hand. I leaned forward and planted my lips on hers as she melted into it. It was passion-filled but subtle. We both pulled away as Izumi then spoke, Welcome home, Tachi-kun. Glad to be home, Zumi-chan. Chapter 51 Naruto's POV. Running through the trees, I finally see it, Konohagakure. We began to run faster, as none of us have slept in our own beds for weeks at this point, and it would be nice to do so. Entering the gate, we noticed the somber mood of Izumo and Kotetsu right off the bat when they saw me. That was strange, I thought, signing back in with the rest. Naruto, your presence is requested by Hokage-sama. He then turned to Toussaint and whispered something. I understand, he said, looking down at the ground. What's up? I asked. I think it would be best to hear it from someone who was there, he said. I slowly nodded my head. Let's go, Hinataheim, I said with a smile. Actually, I need to talk to her a bit about the mission. You go on ahead. Okay, I guess I'll see you later, Hinataheim. Toussaint and Ka-sante Yamato ni, I said, waving to them and walking away. So what is it you wanted to talk about? I heard Hinata say before I was out of earshot. It's about something that happened while we were out, Toussaint said as I was finally out of earshot. Something happened. I guess that would explain why everyone is in a somber mood. What do you think, Kurama? No reply. Fine, be that way. You damn furball, I thought as I began to run to the tower. When I got there, I noticed Gamabunta with Gamakichi on his head and a few other toads scattered across the front lawn of the tower. Hey, Gamabunta, what's going on? I asked, looking at the boss summons of the toads. Well, Naruto, Gamakichi, leave that to Fukasaku, was all he said as he motioned for me to enter. I felt a weird churning feeling in my stomach as I opened the door to Ba-chan's office, seeing it full of smaller toads and no pervy sage. Ba-chan, what's going on? I asked, looking around the room, and the only other people here were Sakura and Shizune. Naruto, she began but stopped herself. This is Fukasaku. I am sure that you know of him, Ba-chan said, and I nodded because, yeah, pervy sage said it was important to meet the toads of my summons. I said, Naruto boy, there is no easy way to put this, but Jiraiya boy has died in battle. My whole world stopped. What? I said, looking at everyone, trying to see the hint of this being a joke. I see you all are trying to get back at me for all my pranks. Come on out, pervy sage, I know you are in here somewhere, I said with a small chuckle. After a few minutes of silence, I spoke again. Please come out, I said in a shaky tone. Tears began to stream down my face and I began hyperventilating as I crashed to the ground, holding my chest. Please, sensei, I wept. We aren't done training yet. What about the Akatsuki? We were gonna take them out together. You were gonna train me about Senjutsu with Ma and Pa. Please, you can't be gone. Oji-san, I whispered as I sat on the floor leaning against the wall. I know this is hard, but... How did it happen? I interrupted. He had found out about where the leader of the Akatsuki was and he went to investigate them, Ba-chan said, and you ordered this mission to only him, knowing how dangerous this group is. I said, anger starting to settle into my soul. Kit, you need to calm down. And where were you? I screamed out, startling everyone. Kit, I felt it was best to leave you be in. I guess I was wrong. I am not good with interacting with you humans, remember, Kurama said. Naruto boy, I was with Jiraiya boy and he left a message for you. I hear Fukasaku say. The small elderly toad turned around, taking his cloak off, showing burn marks on his back, revealing a code. I looked at it for a second before my head felt heavy seeing his handwriting. I can't do this right now, I said, walking to the door. Tsunade-sama, did you order his mission? I asked, shocking those who knew our relationship. I did order it, she answered. Had Pervy Sage taken that seat instead, he never would have ordered such a suicide mission, I said, walking out the door, tears streaming down my face. Still, Naruto, you can't just... I heard Sakura yelling as if to scold me. I turned as Kurama's red beating eyes replaced mine and my features became more feral. Don't, I said. Before trying to calm down, I walked out of the tower and saw Iruka-sensei. Hey Naruto, you wanna go get some ramen? He asked. Sorry Iruka-sensei, but not today, I said without even looking at him. I continued to walk when I came across a convenience store. I entered and bought the conjoined popsicles and continued walking until I found a bench under a streetlight. I sat there for a few minutes as the tears continued to flow from my eyes. Naruto-kun. I turned to see Hinata standing there. Hinata P. I couldn't muster the words. She sat down and placed her hand on my back, rubbing it in circles. Shush. She hushed me gently. Kakashi-sensei told me all about it. I am sorry Naruto-kun. Please don't be. None of us could have done anything, I said in a hushed whisper. Naruto-kun, Hinata said as she used her free hand to turn my head towards her, wrapping her arms around my neck and gently placed her lips on mine. We stayed like this for another couple of minutes before she broke the kiss off. Here, she said, grabbing one of the popsicle handles and breaking her half off. We sat there in silence as we ate our popsicles. When Iruka-sensei came up to the two of us, we sat and talked for a bit when he had to leave to get ready for classes the next day at the academy. Hinata, I asked, what is it? Naruto-kun, you are the best woman a man could ever ask for, I said. As I leaned in and kissed her again. We were like this for who knows how long. Time skip. You're leaving again, Tusan said. Easy, it's only for a month or so for me to train in Senjutsu, I said. Plus the Akatsuki will have no real way of finding me, I said, giving him a thumbs up. I had all my things packed to go to Mount Myoboku for a month's trip. I walked outside before giving Ka-san and Tusan goodbye hugs before making my way to the Hyuga compound. I was able to enter, albeit the guards are still reluctant to let me in. I made my way towards Hinata Heim's room when I ran into Hanabi. Well, look what we have here, I said in a teasing manner. If it isn't Konoha's #1 firecracker, I joked as she puffed out her cheeks. Am not, she pouted. Sure you aren't anyway. Do you have any idea where Hinata Heim is? The gate guards wouldn't tell me, I said sheepishly. Oh, she is in the shower right now and she will be for a while, Hanabine said. I see. How about the two of us have a little spar to see how much you've grown, I said, and her pouting face turned into one of pure joy. Yes, she yelled, causing me to chuckle. Is that how you Hyuga are acting these days? I asked. She blushed as a new voice made themselves present. You know, teasing the daughter of the Hyuga clan head is mighty bold of you, Naruto. I heard. I turned to see Neji leaning against the corner of the hallway. What, she makes it too easy, I said back, laughing, walking up to the branch. Member, I do not, she said back, and I doubt that's how the daughter of the clan head should speak either, Neji said with a mild glare as Hanabi blushed a bit, realizing how right he was. Anyway, how's it been? I haven't talked to you in a while, I said before covering my mouth from Hanabi and nudged him with my other elbow. And besides, how's Tenten? I teased, causing him to activate his Byakugan with an angered face, but the obvious blush on his face was priceless. Alright, I said, raising my hands, surrendering, but not without releasing another small chuckle. He deactivated his Byakugan and was about to say something when another voice rang out. Hanabi-sama, your father has requested you for your daily training, Natsu, Hyuga said, walking up to the three of us. Welcome, Naruto-sama, Natsu said. Please, I told you this already, there's no need for honorifics, just Naruto is fine, I said with a small smile. If I can help Hanabi in any way for her training while I wait for Hinata-hime, I would be glad to assist, I said. I don't know if that's the best idea, Natsu said. Well, it could help her learn to fight against a new fighting style, as I am sure that you have some taijutsu that you mix up in order to help train against unpredictability. However, that can lead to bad habits, I added. I see. I will ask Hiyashi-sama of this, Natsu said, bowing and walking away with Hanabi. So, you really have a thing for Tenten? I asked while placing a hand on Neji's shoulder. Before I could react, he grabbed my wrist. Hey, why? You know I was just kidding, right? I sheepishly said. Oh, I know. How about you and I have a little friendly spar? He said that last part with a little venom as he reactivated his Byakugan. Please have mercy. Chapter 52, Naruto's POV. I was able to train with Hanabi a little bit so she doesn't form bad habits just fighting her clansmen. She was doing fairly well while I was watching her fight, but once she faced me, it was clear that the holes that she inadvertently opened up were due to constant fighting against her clan. I pointed these problems out to Hiyashi-sama, who graciously accepted changing her training methods in the future. Naruto-kun, I heard Hinata say behind me as I turned to meet her eyes. Hinata-hime, I said with a smile and took her hand in my own. Naruto, remember what I told you, don't be out too late. Or I will be given a tenketsu a day for the rest of my life. I remember, Hiyashi-sama, I said, bowing. Good, have fun now and take care of my daughter, Hiyashi-sama said as the two of us made our way out of the compound. So where are we going? Hinata-hime asked. That is a surprise, I said with a cheeky grin. Are you taking me to Ichiraku's again? She asked with a small chuckle. No, especially after last time, I said, remembering that contest they held where she was able to eat more ramen than me. She laughed as I sulked about losing that contest for about a week. After a few minutes of walking, we reached the location for our picnic, which was at the top of a waterfall near the village walls. We ate in peace. We talked for a bit as I told stories of my travels with Pervy Sage and some new techniques that we have come up with for the future. We had finished our food and rested side by side as we watched the sun slip under the horizon, casting a dimly lit blanket of a full moon now cascading across the land. We sat there in the cool early autumn air, just enjoying the moment when I knew it was getting late, but I just wanted to stay here with her for a while longer. All good things must come to an end, as I knew that if I wanted to live into next week I would need to take her home soon. Hinata-hime, I think it's time to go, I said, nudging her gently. Hinata-hime, I said, looking at her closely. Seeing that she had fallen asleep, I smiled as I gently kissed her forehead and picked her up bridal style and began my trek back to the Hyuga compound after the long walk, as I tried not To disturb her, I made it into the compound and walked Hinata to her room, laying her into bed and sat down at the foot of the bed. I brushed the loose hairs off her face, tucking them behind her ear, and I cupped her cheek in the palm of my hand. "Good night, my Heim. I will see you in a month's time, my love," I said, kissing her on the forehead again, and was about to leave when her arms wrapped around me, dragging me down into bed with her. I look over to see Hiyashi-sama in the doorway, who had been there the entire time, let off a small laugh before replacing it with the typical Hyuga's stoic look. I waved at him, trying to get him to help me silently, but he spoke up instead. "Hinata has been known to have a vice grip while she sleeps. I have a feeling she won't let go anytime soon. If you try anything, I will give you a fate far worse than death." "Wait, try anything? What do you mean? Just help me out," I said as he shook his head. "Even I am unable to escape her vice grips. I am afraid you will have to stay here tonight," Hiyashi-sama said. Stay W. With H. Hinata, I practically yelled, causing Hiyashi to shush me. "Be quiet, people are trying to sleep. Also, you do not want to wake her up, or my tenketsu will look like a small pat on the back," he said, making a chill shoot up my spine. "Don't try anything," he said, closing the door. I looked at him as he closed the door, leaving just the two of us, and I was a blushing mess. I decided to just wrap my arms around her and try to sleep the best that I can. After about 3 hours, I was still wide awake as I tried my hardest to sleep. Timeskip. I woke up after maybe 20 minutes of sleep to a wide-eyed Hinata. Naruto-kun," she said, shocked. "Hey Heim," I said as I managed to not be a blushing mess. "What are you doing here? What if Sama finds out?" she said as I raised my hand, stopping her. "Your father saw you trap me in a vice grip once. I was about to leave last night and he said that it was okay just this one time," I said, holding back a blush. Oh, she said, tapping her fingers together. "Look, I would love to stay with you longer, Hinata Heim, but I have to go. I have a mission to go on," I said as she frowned slightly. "How long will you be gone?" she asked. About a month," I said, averting my gaze. "A month?" she said in surprise. "I know, but it's to train in Senjutsu. I need to get stronger if I am to fight and win against the Akatsuki leader," I said, causing her to jump. "What? It is clear that he will be the one to come after me, so it is best to be as strong as possible by then," I continued. "I understand, Naruto-kun," she said, looking down, gripping her bedsheets. "I love you, Hinata Heim," I said, standing up. "I love you too, Naruto-kun," she said as I kissed her and left for the meeting place with Pa. "Timeskip, are you ready, Naruto boy?" Pa asked as I nodded as we were reverse summoned to Mount Myoboku. "Hey Naruto, how are you holding up?" I heard from Gamakichi and Gamatatsu. "I'm alright, let's just get on with training," I said, walking along with Pa into a small hut. "Here. You made it just in time for breakfast," Ma said, laying out a table full of different insects in arachnids. I nearly threw up looking at the food, but I kept it down, knowing that Ma really is trying her best. I ate every bite, trying my hardest to hold it all in. I was able to do so, but after about 10 minutes of training I hurled all over the place. "I'm sorry, Pa, I didn't want to be rude, but I don't know if I'll last a month on that," I said, looking at the insects, which some were still squirming. "I knew that would happen. Both your father and Jiraiya boy had the same issues," he said with a chuckle. "I think Ma does it just to show you that even the worst human food is better than the insects of Mount Myoboku," he said, laughing. He began to explain how the Senjutsu training worked. And for the first week he had me on a board working on staying absolutely still. When I was able to do that, I then began to absorb nature chakra while Pa whacked me on the head with a stick every time I drew in too much. "How many times do I have to tell you not to draw in too much?" Pa said, smacking me with the stick again. I am trying. It is harder than I thought it would be, I said as he smacked me across the face. I wasn't even absorbing anything, I yelled, pointing accusingly. Focus or you'll turn to stone. Pa shot back. I sighed, knowing that I needed to focus, but I didn't realize how quickly I needed to draw the chakra in. This continued for another week or so, and I finally was getting the hang of Senjutsu. Everything was fine until one day one of the smaller toads left as a messenger for Ba-chan arrived saying that the Akatsuki leader was attacking Konoha along with Gamabunta, Gamakan, Gamahiro, Gamakichi and Pa. Your world shall know pain, said a floating figure above Konoha. Suddenly in one fell swoop the entirety of Konohagakure was destroyed before my very eyes. I heard many screams of agony and sorrow when one voice rang out, Naruto-kun, Chapter 53. Naruto's POV. I was looking at the destruction of what once was my home. I was pissed. Kurama, I yelled mentally. Let's kick this guy's ass, Kurama snarled. I rushed in like a rocket and pinned the man down the very second he landed on the ground. The hell do you want? I snarled similarly to Kurama. You, as a matter of fact, the man with purple eyes with black rings said. And why is that so? You can steal the tailed beast inside of me, Yahiko. I asked. How do you know that name? The man yelled, grabbing my throat. I gasped for air as he quickly lifted me off of him and threw me like a rag doll across the open crater. I flipped midair in an attempt to land on my feet when a second person appeared, catching me. Who is this? I thought as the person began absorbing my chakra. Wait, Senjutsu would turn them to stone. I thought as I began collecting nature chakra, and within seconds the person bloated, turning into a frog statue. It seems that you have learned Jiraiya Sensei's sage jutsu. This could be a problem, Yahiko said as four others appeared next to him, all with orange hair, purple eyes with black rings and black piercings. Kuchiyose no jutsu, one yelled as a rhino and a weird bird was summoned at the same time. Shit, I said, rolling out of the way from the rhino. The bird swooped down next as I used what little senjutsu within me as well as some of Kurama's chakra and stopped the beak from turning me into its own personal shish kebab. Impressive. You have more control over the Kyuubi than I had anticipated, Yahiko said. It's not about control, I said, twirling around, swinging the bird with me gathering momentum. It's about partnership, I yelled, throwing the summons towards the original Shinra Tensei. The man said, holding his hands towards the bird, causing it to divert from its course over all of their heads. The bird vanished in a plume of smoke as it soared through the air. I had finally evaded the bird and was happy until the rhino rammed me. Damn you, I yelled, holding my side before forming a half-ram seal. Kage Bunshin no jutsu, I yelled as I made around 20 clones. I had sent 3 of them off to gain senjutsu that I would need for later if the fight dragged on, while 5 would try and engage hand to hand with each of my foes. I had another 5 deal with the rampaging rhino with the help of Gamabunta, while the other toads protected anyone still alive in the mess of a village. The remaining 7 helped me in support against the people and summons with long-distance jutsu flashing through hand signs. I, along with 4 others, all yelled out, Goton Dairandan no Jutsu 5 release great combo technique. We all called out as one of the 5 main elements shot from each of us as it collided with the person with multiple weapons built into his body. And you have the mastery to some degree over the 5 elements, Yahiko said, dodging a jab from my bunshin and slamming it to the ground, dispelling it. Will you put a cork in it, Carrot Top? I yelled in frustration, only being able to take one of them out. I then watched as more of my bunshin get dispelled by the other people and the rhino who Ma and Pa took care of. I sent in the bunshin for support to engage in taijutsu too. learn the fighting style to a high degree, but he would dispel them practically instantaneously. Suddenly I felt something slithering up my leg. Looking disowned, startled, I see a small Katsuyu slithering up my leg. Naruto, she said as I grabbed her and placed her on my shoulder. Who are the others? I know that one, but the others are obscure to me, I said while pointing at Yahiko. Naruto, these people are all dead. They are being controlled by someone else from a nearby location, lady. Katsuyu said, so they are all zombies, I said hesitantly. No, I feel that the rods are like a wireless receiver but for chakra, allowing one to control the corpses from afar, she elaborated. I see, I said as one of my bunshin has gathered enough senjutsu for me. Perfect, I said, dispelling it and gaining the nature chakra from it. Kurama, wanna add some more spice to the mix? I asked as he pumped some chakra through me. You got it, Kit, he said. Let's go, Kurama, I said aloud, charging in. Every punch and kick I made was dodged easily by my opponents. I fought like this for a few minutes, unable to land a hit on any of them. Fine, let's do it this way, I said, making more bunshin. 11 to be precise. 5 made similar hand signs before, while the other 5 made new hand signs. The last made a large pool of water. Goton Dairandan no Jutsu. The first 5 yelled, Hyaten Soryu. Bofusetsu Ice Release. Twin Dragon Blizzard, yelled another. Sabaku Q Sand Burial Coffin. The second yelled, the Kuten Bakuhatsu Sei Boido Explosion Release Explosive Void 1 inch. Another yelled, Shoten Hasha Koryu Crystal Release Burst Crystal Falling Dragon. The fourth yelled, Daiton Chikyu no Nami Mud Release Waves of Earth 2 inches. The last bunshin yelled, Senpo Mokuton Mokoryu Enbu Sage Art Wood Release Wood Dragon Dance Performance. I yelled. I watched as Yahiko's face contorted into one of shock. He was too stunned even to use Shinra Tensei. The jutsus rushed towards Yahiko when paper suddenly wrapped around him and sent him flying. The hell? I said, watching the paper move as if it had a mind of its own. I then remember Itachi mentioning someone within the Akatsuki with this ability. Suddenly a woman with blue hair and some piercings appeared. Naruto Uzumaki, you have been quite a thorn in our operation, saving the cage at the cost of Sasori of the Red Sands life, assisting Kumo with the deaths of both Kakazu and Hidan, or rather our not so immortal duo. Even Jiraiya Sensei found where we were and challenged Pain Sama in battle, falling to his might, she said, looking at me. What's your point? I asked before one of the others walked up and spoke. You do not know of the atrocities that the 5 major nations have caused to those amongst the minor nations through their petty wars. The one said. I'm sorry, who are you? I asked. Pain. All of us are Pain, they said. Wait, I am Pain, I said, trying to piss them off. What? No, we are Pain, they said, now pointing to the others. Are you Pain? I said, pointing to Conan. What? No, I am Conan, she said. Wait a minute, if they are all dead and you are not Pain, then would I be wrong if I guessed that the real Pain is actually Nagato? I said as the 3 remaining people and Conan froze. How do you know about us? She said in surprise. Well, let's just say you had a mole who was helping me for years, I said, stunning them all. Who? They demanded I answer. I don't feel like telling you. Carrot Top or Ms. Origami, I said. Damn you. The one Pain yelled. Suddenly I felt my chakra draining again. The hell? I said, turning to see the Pain. I turned to stone. Perfectly fine. I then began pumping senjutsu into him, turning him to stone once again. When will you learn? I said, looking at one of the Pains healing the others. So that's how? I thought, eyeing my next target. You will know what Pain means when I am done with you, the original said, walking out of some weird thing's mouth. As if I don't know that already, I said, looking at him like he is an idiot. How could you possibly? No pain, he said, causing me to laugh my ass off. Really, you are trying to capture the Jinchuriki and don't understand the struggles that they go through on a daily basis. I asked. You couldn't have struggled as much as me, the pain said, lunging forward. I deflected his arm that held some sort of black rod similar to the piercings on his body. Try me, I said, drawing a kunai and throwing it at him, but not an ordinary kunai. No one's pav. Pain's human path dodged it as a Rasengan swirled into existence in Naruto's hand. A black rod began to protrude from the palm of his hand in an attempt to stab Naruto in the abdomen. You will now know my pain. Pain yelled in victory when Naruto vanished from his sight real fast. Rasengan. Suddenly Pain swelled up in Pain's back, ironic, as he crashed into the ground and watched as he was driven down further from the eyes of the other paths. The human path was now out of commission along with the Asura path and the Preta path. Kuchiyose? The animal path began to yell until suddenly Naruto was upon them, destroying them as well. There were now only two paths left, the Diva path and the Naraka path. Naruto charged in, throwing a punch towards the Diva path, slightly missing him to the left, but the force of the punch was enough to smash into the side of the Diva path's face, sending him flying back. Naruto saw his opportunity and created a Rasen Shuriken, throwing it at the Naraka path, destroying it, leaving only the Diva path. Unfortunately, Naruto had run out of Senjutsu chakra at this point, as well as clones gathering the chakra. Feeling pain shooting through his body, he found himself pinned to the ground, unable to utilize his chakra by the black rods. Looking up, he watched as the Diva path was about to knock him out when he was sent flying back by a large force of wind. Stay away from him, Naruto heard someone yell from behind him. Naruto turned only to see an injured Hinata rushing in to save him. No, stay back, Naruto yelled, but it was all in vain as time and time again she tried to free him. She was sent away from the gravity control of Pain that gave Naruto an idea. Activating his dojutsu was about the only thing he could do in this state. He watched as Pain used his gravity control again for nothing to happen. He tried to channel Kurama's chakra as well, but he was completely shut off at the moment. Paper began to rush towards Hinata, causing Naruto to look at the female Akatsuki member who had stayed out of battle this entire time. Leave them be, this is not something that you can meddle in without any consequences, she said as Naruto's eyelids feel weird in one of the many puddles left on the ground from earlier. Naruto saw his eyelids were now white and looked like paper. Naruto's attention was diverted back to Hinata as his eyes turned back to normal along with his eyelids. She was practically floating in the air when suddenly she came crashing down to the ground. No, my pain. Naruto Uzumaki, the Diva path, shouted, stabbing Hinata in the heart, killing her. Hinata, and cut. Next part after 10 likes and 5 comments.